What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the After Effect Podcast. I'm your host, LeBron Stephen, but you can call me LB, LBZ, L Boogie, Big Brian, Brian, B Brian, Bronny, whatever you choose. Welcome to episode 42. We have a very special guest. Justin Staples is on the show today. Illinois native, matriculated to Cleveland, Ohio when he was 12, was a standout at St. Edward High School, attended the University of Illinois on a football scholarship where he chose them over Pittsburgh and Michigan State, played for them from 2008 to 2012, went undrafted in the 2013 NFL draft, signed with the hometown team Cleveland Browns, got cut on the last cuts, and then got signed to the Tennessee Titans where he played 4 years there. He is retired now. Entrepreneur, business owner in the Chi-Town area. Super uber excited to have him on to expound on his After Effect and just for us to kick knowledge and kick game to each other. So simply waiting for him to jump on and we will go to work.
Ron, sorry about that, my man.
Oh no, you good? You can hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you loud and clear. How I sound on your end?
Oh yeah, sound good. Hey, I appreciate you carving out the time, man. Happy Tuesday.
Hey man, same to you, man. Thank you for having me, brother.
Yes, sir, man. So like I was telling you earlier, I call this the After Effect Podcast. It's my belief that us as athletes, us as former athletes, there's power in our stories. And this is just a platform for us to kind of relive our journey, give some intricate details on some experiences from middle school, high school, college, pro, but more importantly, the after effect of our entire career, the afterlife of, playing football, playing basketball, whatever your respective sport is. I always felt like that transition was minimized. And, you can do all the work in high school and college to be ready for life after football, but it really doesn't hit you until it's time. So this is kind of just a platform to kind of expound on that and really just try to push the culture forward.
Cool, man.
Yes, sir. So, before we dive into your childhood and things like that, I always felt like we are more than athletes. So let me just get your take on just a couple current events, man. Now, I know we got the divisional round coming up. You see, I got the Browns gear on, man.
Yeah.
Now, I know you played for the Titans for 4 years, and I know you just took that L from Lamar Jackson. But who do you have winning the Super Bowl this year and why?
Well, obviously, I'm a Cleveland boy as well at heart, and I actually got my first experience in the league getting to play for the hometown.
Yeah, I saw that.
I'm definitely going to pull for the Brownies. It just means a little bit more, not being there for 18 years and nobody really being able to have a recent memory of good, sustained winning Browns football. Just knowing what it'll do for the city, my heart is definitely there. Right, now, my head is saying we might be headed for, Kansas City versus either. I think maybe Brady might pull it off or Rodgers, but hopefully, my heart right. I'm pulling for the Browns.
Right. I can attest to that. Man, it's crazy. I had been talking about the Browns and the Chiefs playing in the playoffs for like weeks before, so it's crazy that it actually happened. And like you said, man, our hearts are with the Browns, but man, the Mahomes, and then the Chiefs got the Cleveland boys with the Travis Kelce.
Yeah, they got their own little Cleveland
flavor. Yeah, and Frank Clark and Anthony Hitchens. He from Lorraine, so they got some good Ohio boys there, man. But like you said, we're rooting for the Browns through and through.
Always, man.
Definitely, man. So like I was telling you earlier, I try to stay away from politics on this show, man, but I had to try to get your take on it, man. What's your reaction to, what happened in our nation's capital last week when the White House was breached and, just all the racial injustices that we've experienced pretty much our whole life, but it's finally starting to come to the forefront for the last 10 months during the coronavirus pandemic. I feel like so many citizens and so many people around the world are really starting to get and see what it's like to be Black. And obviously we've been Black our entire life. So what's your reaction to that?
I mean, I want to kind of prelude this by saying minus the death, because I never find death comical in no way, shape, or form, regardless of how I feel about that person or what they represent, or maybe the case may be. But with that being said, the events and everything and how it kind of unfolded, everybody kind of have group chats running with their close friends and things like that nature.
Mm-hmm.
It was all jokes for us.
Yeah,
We seen
yeah,
some of the costumes that people were dressing up for,
yeah.
and people really approaching this like it's a WWE event or something like that.
Right,
Really truly thinking that there's no repercussions for or ramifications for their actions.
right, right.
And where I really found the humor in it was you got these people that scream things like Blue Lives Matter and all this other stuff as opposition to Black Lives Matters movements and things
Mm-hmm.
of that nature when we're
Mm-hmm.
trying to talk about these injustices that are being done.
Right,
But then now how the tables have turned the second that those people feel that that entity isn't working in their favor anymore. So to
right.
me, it was like, you have a presidency that's been emboldened by these tensions. It's kind of been, raised onto a higher platform through stoking the flames of these racial injustices and some of these tensions and things of that nature. And everything
Absolutely.
just came to a head. So that's
Mm-hmm.
where I found the comedy into it, because it's just like, who gonna win at the end of the day?
Right.
But with the serious side of it, it's more so, I think, something that, like you said, is kind of needed. It's things that we've known and we've experienced that have
Mm-hmm.
always been there in undertones and just
Mm-hmm.
ways that people kind of say, that's things and how they always were. And I feel like we finally got to a point to where it's like, enough is enough.
Right.
This train of thought can no longer survive if this nation is going to keep progressing and going to keep, being the great nation that we all believe that it is. So it's
Exactly.
like, it's actually a silver lining, I think, in the Capitol events, to where we're going to now see some of these people actually get some ramifications for their actions. People are actually starting now to get held accountable for, their parts and their roles in these things. And some of the things that have been done in the dark are starting to come to light. But even some of the police officers that had hands, and I'm even reading stuff about Congress members having hands.
Man, I just read that. I just read that like an hour ago. Yeah.
It's crazy, man. So,
Yeah.
like I said, man, hopefully, those type of things start coming to light, and it's not going to be the, same old, that's just how that's how they think, and just allowing that train of thought to kind of continue on and continue
Right.
to control the course of our nation.
Right, right. It's wild. I can attest to that. Like you just said, I just read an article where there may have been 3 congressmen involved in helping them to breach the White House. And the first thing that I thought about, like all like Black Americans, what if those people were Black? What if that was the Black Lives Matter movement that breached the White House? One, they wouldn't have breached the White House. But 2, what if that was them? Like, there would have been way more killings, there would have been way more death, there would have been way more violence, there would have been way more aggression. So like you said, it's just a testament to how our world is not progressing, and we're going in month 10 of the coronavirus pandemic, something we never walked through. But it's frustrating. It's frustrating as a Black man, as a Black person in general, just to see that.
Definitely, man.
Yeah, for sure, man. So yeah, I know I brought up the coronavirus pandemic. Obviously, since we've been alive, but we were both born in 1989. We were in our 30s. We have never ever walked through a coronavirus pandemic. The world has never shut down. We've never had to go anywhere wearing masks. This is all a new experience for us. We're walking into month 10. How have you had to grow? I know you're a husband, and more importantly, you're a Black man. How have you had to grow emotionally, physically, mentally, spiritually? Just that, the whole combination of those things, as we try to just push forward and figure this thing out.
Yeah, definitely, man. I think something that really came to be more so apparent to me throughout this pandemic that I wasn't really as much so anticipating, being athletes our whole lives and just being naturally athletically inclined, you kind of, going through childhood, you was always outside moving at some points,
Mm-hmm.
things of that nature. Then you had ball that kind of conducted that course and that, that
Mm-hmm.
workout regimen for you for your life. So
Mm-hmm.
when we got into this coronavirus, really, and everything started shutting down, it was kind of like, for real for the first time, even though, you kind of had that transition when you come out of football, but then it was like like a real sitting down of, okay, what do I do with my time?
Right.
How do I keep the things going for my body to stay healthy and things of that nature?
Right.
And really just kind of came into kind of a couple problems with that. You know, you fall into a sedentary type role with
Mhm,
working from home and things of
mhm,
that nature,
mhm,
man.
mhm,
So just really trying to lean on my boys. Just kind of, I'm fortunate enough to have a couple frat brothers, a couple people that live not too far from me.
mhm,
And
mhm,
like I said again with the group chats, just trying to stay motivated through those things, just trying to talk about more things that I found ourselves talking more about politics and more so about just other things and world events, more so than we necessarily would when the world was open, because you're more so concerned about, you know, weekend plans and trips
mhm,
and things of that nature. So
mhm,
without that element, you know, we're actually having more open dialogue on things and seeing where each other are at when it comes to certain things. So
right.
that's definitely helped with emotional growth, as well as, you know, just really keeping the person sane, you know. So
Mhm, mhm,
it's been, it's kind of been a struggle, as everything is within this nation,
mhm,
approaching it, you know, from our standpoint, but being able to have those that you can kind of fall back onto. And I've also gotten into meditation a little bit, just trying to
mhm,
find peace
mhm.
within myself, kind of trying to find self motivation, I guess tactics and stuff within myself to kind of keep things going throughout this.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, man. I can attest to that. I started meditating probably about 3 years ago. I learned it, once I had started therapy. Just trying to get through after peeling back certain layers from my childhood and a teenage hit of things like that. That was a practice that I started, and it's definitely helpful. Like you said, our athletic background, I think, definitely played a major part in and walking through the world shutting down because we're so used to routine and
Mhm.
being on a schedule. So
Oh,
when it hit, it was kind of like you said, we had to work from home, but it was a bit easier to find that routine, like up at 6 a.m., get a workout in, then go to work for 6 to 8 hours, and then maybe get another workout in, or maybe do some yoga, or just kind of plan out your day. And but like you said, the group chats, keeping your close friends motivated, keeping your family motivated, and keeping yourself motivated too, man. Uh it's crazy. I find myself probably like the most emotional that I've ever been. Just really taking a deep dive into all the racial injustices and
yeah.
thinking about how long we've been going through this, but we've had to become numb to it, or
Mhm.
we would go crazy, or we would lash out on somebody. And I just was thinking about, even as a teenager back in Cleveland, maybe going to the mall in Mentor, or going to Chagrin Falls, or going to Solon, just going to different areas where there's not a lot of black people, and automatically being chimed at as like a bad person, or
Oh yeah.
or not being able to control the narrative on what the other race thinks about you before they even get to know you. And we've been dealing with it for so long, it got kind of emotional. And I don't know, maybe we getting old, and I and I had to think about it a little bit. I'm like, man,
Crazy,
we really been going through this for a long time.
crazy,
But
man.
we both went to PWIs, and in the Big Ten. So I'm sure you probably experienced a little bit of that in Champaign, because I did in Iowa City as well, man. So just all that stuff conjuring up in your head is just it was a bit emotional.
It is, man. It definitely, it take you to a place, because it's like the thing that really started tripping me out is you'll start seeing parallels. You'll see old pictures from even like the civil rights movement, you know, when
Mhm,
people were going through Jim Crow, and so
mhm.
how some of the things they were fighting for, literally the wording was the exact same things that we using, and we still saying no. And it's like,
Exactly,
that's 50, 60 years ago. So it's like, man,
exactly.
like, has the needle really not moved like
Right,
that?
right. No
But then
movement. Right,
you look at it in that perspective, but then think about how long slavery and the transatlantic slave trade went on for. You know, we got hundreds of years, so we really, you know, we only a good, we're less than 100 years, you know,
right,
removed from true, you know, having involvement within the nation and its processes between voting and some of these other things, that it took us longer to be able to actually get as American citizens within this nation, man. So
right,
it's crazy. It just gives you more to kind of just think about and really be thankful where we're at, but then also
right,
realize I feel like it lit a fire under me, man.
right,
Like it's
right.
like,
Like it's not enough. It's not enough.
it's
Keep
not
going.
enough.
Keep
It's not even
fighting.
close. It's not even close to enough. Like we
Right.
shouldn't be having these same conversations. Like this should have been done with before my generation really came up. So like, you
Absolutely.
know, it's really time now to do the damnedest before the next generation come up, really.
Absolutely, absolutely. We definitely got to keep pushing that needle, man. So yeah, let's dive in your childhood. I know you say you were born in Illinois. You moved to Cleveland when you were 12. Talk about the culture in Illinois growing up in the 90s. Obviously, we were both born in 89. The world is totally different now. We did not have the internet. We didn't have YouTube. We didn't have camera phones. We didn't have phone. I think the internet maybe came out in 98.
Right.
So what was the energy like? What was the vibration like in Illinois growing up? And then matriculating to Cleveland, which is like 5 hours away when you were 12. Did you have any mentors or influences growing up?
Yeah, man. So like you said, we didn't really have all the bells and whistles that kids got these days. So, internet and things of that nature, those were stuff starting to really formulate.
Mm-hmm.
So really growing up for us in the 90s meant being outside 24/7. Like
Yep. Yep.
I tried to think back on my childhood and I tried to think that I really have any like, of course living in Chicago, being from Chicago at the time before I moved over to Cleveland, obviously looking at Michael Jordan throughout that whole period of time. So like,
Yeah.
big names like that. But
Yeah.
really, I didn't really have too many, I would say, actual, I guess, like star mentors from either the NBA or NFL. The people that I look up to were my cousins, were the dudes on the block, that were the ones that were, because really, our main thing was playing basketball growing up.
Right.
So
Right.
that's really the real culture shock that I got when I was 12 and we moved over. My mother got remarried and we moved over to Cleveland. And I seen things kind of just flip. The way that we feel about football in Ohio is the way that basketball is
Was
kind
in
of,
Chicago? Okay.
in Chicago. So
Yeah, that makes
for me,
sense.
it's a culture shock. I'm used to doing things like, every Friday we used to go to the Recplex where I used to stay in Chicago and everybody would go hoop. And it was like, this is the thing. I mean, like the whole school, everybody would be up there.
Yeah.
I come to Cleveland and actually my mother's a flight attendant. So we was in Berea. And I'll try to go to the Berea Rec Center and do the same thing. And it's like me
Not the same.
three middle-aged white dudes in here. I'm like, I mean, I guess we could play 21. And then they looking at me like, what you mean 21? It's 33.
Yeah,
I'm
we
like,
played
come
30.
on, bro.
Yeah, we played 33 in Ohio. We
I'm
played
like, I
33.
don't know where I am at. I'm like, I don't know where I'm at. But luckily, man, my father is from St. Louis. He grew up playing football, and that was always in the back of my mind. Where I was living in Chicago, my mom's was not going at all. She was like, not playing football. Like, you just not at that age. So when we moved over to Cleveland, I actually conned her. I'm like, hey, man, I don't know nobody out here. Everybody talking about the football team. They all want me to come out and try out. I'm like, I don't know nobody. Like, you got to let me do it finally. I have been trying to convince her since like third, fourth grade. And she was like, no. So finally, it was actually not until eighth grade because my seventh grade year, we didn't have a team. But eighth grade, she finally let me get out there, man. And I fell in love with the game from. I mean, second, I picked the helmet up.
Yeah. That's funny that you say that because for some reason I was in love with football and basketball. I started football at 8 years old, started basketball at 9. So I always played both every year until college, until my senior year, hooped in high school, hooped in middle school, all that, man. But I was super tapped into Jordan too. I knew Chicago was only 5 hours away, so I absolutely love Michael Jordan, absolutely love the Bulls, but also love football as well. Let me ask you this, man: was Chicago as like violent as it is now? Like, was it like that in the 90s, or it was more so like guys were shooting a fair one? Like they, it was knuckles and knuckles, or was it as violent as it is now?
Man, to be real with you, it was worse, I think, in the 90s
Okay.
because of the things and some of the triggers and kind of just the way the tensions were. Things were more when you kind of delve into that street life, you see, is it oriented, is the violence oriented off of proximity? Is it neighborhoods that are kind of setting up the organizations, or is it, colors and organizations in terms of gangs and things of that nature?
Yeah.
And Chicago was really heavy on the colors. You couldn't wear certain colors nowhere.
Okay.
Like it will automatically be a situation.
Yeah.
And kind of, I was still thinking it would, and not to say that it has gotten past that, because we do still need to progress in certain areas, but to that extent is not as, you almost have to go seeking it. It feels like, you know what I'm saying? Like things do still kind of happen sporadically, and kind of there's the unfortunate, gun violence incidents that do happen where bystanders and civilians are kind of being brought into it, but it's not as much. It seems more targeted. Like the people that are lending that element, like that's still there, but it's not as sporadic as it used to at least seem.
I got you. Okay, I got you. I appreciate that inside candor, man. I always wanted to know that.
Yeah.
So talk about. I know you said you moved to Cleveland, Ohio when you was 12, and that's when you started playing football. How was that transition for you? Did they automatically put you at linebacker? Did you play receiver? What position did you start off at? And then just talk about your transition to St. Ed. And I know you play football and basketball all 4 years, right? Yeah. So just talk about that transition when you started coming to your own. For me, it was 10th grade. Like I said, like when you start getting stronger and you hit that growth spurt and you start getting those letters from all the colleges and all that, and just all that stuff starts to roll for you.
Yeah, man. Yeah, so that transition, it was kind of seamless on my end. I had to kind of pick up a little bit of technical things. You kind of start learning the game around that time for real anyway, so I wasn't too far behind. But as far as how to move like a ball player, I was kind of
Mm-hmm.
learning those things, going from the street ball, just kind of picking up and just playing catch and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But really at first I went out actually for quarterback. So quarterback was my first position on the offense, but my footwork was trash. Couldn't remember based off of what play, where the running back was going. That dictated essentially which way I had to open up and all that other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So then they ended up moving me to running back. Did my thing really for about half the season, but I was always a defensive dude, man.
Mm-hmm.
For real. My first position was inside with that team, and then my freshman year when I got to Eds, they moved me to end, and then really I just kept bouncing back and forth in between, because then we went from a 4-4 to a 3-4, so I'm playing the stand up outside, the rush,
rush in,
whatever. And really when we made that transition on the football side, things just they clarified themselves for me, really, because the differences between being in different systems and kind of feeling like really you didn't really have a fit in one. I wasn't more so the big lumbering DN that was kind of traditionally the guy, that you just gonna plug him, pay him in the 5-tech, regardless, or play him in the 4-hour or whatever. Right. So when they were kind of exploring these things and bringing that 3-4 multiple front down to the high school level, we fortunately enough while we was in school, like I said, man, it took me to the next level on the football side.
Definitely.
We still came up in that time where I don't know what the recruiting rules are now with coaches, but I know they did away with like the open combines. Remember, we used to be able to do. They had one at the Brown Stadium. I'm not sure. I remember they had everybody there.
I went to that.
Right. That Browns. I forgot the name of it, but it was at the Brown Stadium, man.
Yeah.
And that day, I think I came in. Syracuse was the first school to offer me. This was going into my junior year.
Okay.
And I came out of that one. I think I had 3 going into that combine, and I came out with over 20.
Yeah,
because it was schools from all across the nation, man, and everywhere. It really was just seeming like you said, really it's around that sophomore year when things started to clarify. Like on the basketball side, really, man, I was behind 2 Big Ten forwards, so
Delvon Rowe, and who's the other one?
Thomas Pritchard. We had him go to Indiana. Man, I was just out there trying to, just get my mans. Really, we had a good squad between.
I remember. Y'all did have a squad.
Man, I was out there, definitely still trying to live my hoop dreams. But come around junior year, I think it started kind of clarifying for me. Like, it's gonna be football.
Same here, man. I think I got all the MAC offers like going into the summer, going into the junior year, and then like most of the Big Ten and like Duke and Connecticut and schools like that was like right after junior year. But like you said, my name LeBron, so you could tell me I wasn't a hooper.
Man, what?
I hooped all 4 years. I remember saying that because I went to Warrensville for like 2.5 years, and I went to Glenville for 1.5 years. But I remember playing as y'all blew us out. We had a squad at Warrensville. We had Corey Spates. He went to Purdue. Yep. Joe Davis went to Cleveland State. They was like the best guard duo in the area at that time, and y'all whooped us, man, because we didn't have no big guys. I was guarding Delvon Rowe, and I got like 4 fouls like the first quarter.
First quarter, man.
Right. On my football vibe, like just playing physical, making sure he wasn't gonna do nothing. So I think I only had like 9 or 10 points, but I remember, man. I hadn't met you or anything like that, but I knew Deontay Moore, I knew Nate Oliver, but I was definitely tapped in because I was a tweener as well. So we kind of played the same position, man. So I was super tapped in, man, and happy for all your success. So tell me this, man, because I know you had Michigan State and Pitt and Illinois in your top 3. So what went into your decision to choose the University of Illinois? Obviously, like you said, because you were born and raised there. And also, we both was waiting on that O State offer. So just talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, man. So really, we can start off with the O State situation because I still got a beef with them, man. I'll be rooting for them. I'm always going to root for them, especially like you said, my boy Nate, even Alex Boone. We had a couple other cats go through there.
Yeah, I remember Alex.
Man, but the thing is, bro, they waited for me forever. Like, I'm talking to, I think I had Taver Johnson was my first recruiting coach, and then my second recruiting coach, ironically enough, was Tim Beckman, who ended up being my head coach at Illinois my 5th year. So ironically enough, man. But I was on the whole gamut. I'm pretty sure they did the same thing to you, texting you at 5 a.m., all that crap, man. The whole rip.
Yeah.
It come down to it. I'm ready to make my decision going into senior year. I had it in the back of my head because I had talked to my head coach at Eds at the time, Scott Neswicki. He was like, you probably should commit before two-a-days start, kind of just to give yourself a little bit of an insurance policy. You know,
Okay.
the school would probably, you know, honor that with you already being committed to the university if something were to happen to you going into this season. One of
Okay,
those
that's smart. That's smart. Yeah.
You know, whatever. So I'm like, all right, cool. You know, I can set that deadline. That's kind of comfortable with me or whatever. And everything had kind of been, you know, just iffy back and forth. Nothing really solidified. And it seemed like things started picking up for me on that O State communication side. Literally the day I committed to Illinois.
Yeah.
So I still ain't forget about that. But man, I really ended up ultimately finding a comfort with Illinois because really we was coming up through the era, and obviously it's continued on where schools were creating pipelines all throughout the Big Ten coming into Ohio. And Illinois, Ron Zook, he had a background coming into Illinois. My recruiting coach was Eric Wolford, who he a legend out in Youngstown. I think he played at Youngstown State, was kind of from the area, known that area, stuff like that. And then we had a few guys coming in, Jeff Cumberland from a couple classes before me.
Yeah, I remember him.
Mark Jackson. We had Eric Robertson from Maple Heights, the class before
me. Yeah, I remember him. We grew up together.
Yeah, that's crazy, man.
Yeah.
Man, we just had guys coming in left and right. So I'm like, okay, cool. I'm going to have that familiarity. It's not going to feel like I'm the only guy, you know, kind of know where I came from a little bit. Right. And then really it was just the proximity. Like I said before, I moved to Cleveland. My mother whole side of the family is from Chicago. My father whole side of the family is from St. Louis. Champaign is literally it's 2 hours from both of them. So it's like right in the middle. So it's like I got that chance. I'm like, cool, man. The whole family can come see the games because they was coming over to Ohio to see me play. So it's like, all right, cool. Now it's closer and things like that. So it was cool, man. Just opened up and just provided a real, at least I was thinking, on the front end, the area for opportunity to get on the field early. You know, they was talking, okay, cool. I did come in on the 2 deep. But ended up needing a red shirt because some of the technical things that you kind of got to learn that first year as a linebacker, you know, your knowledge gap kind of has to decrease very quickly going from
that transition is tough.
You got to know, man. You go from having to pretty much always equate it. It's like in high school, you got to know just what you do as a linebacker. In college, you got to know what all 11 on your side do. And then in the pros, you got to know what all 22 do. You got to know because you're setting everything up and it's changing things. So really just getting that transition kind of down and things of that nature was a little bit rougher than I was expecting, man. Like that red shirt year was rough. I probably focused on some things I shouldn't have, a little bit too much partying, a little bit too much going out.
Same here, especially on those away games. On those away games, you got Friday and Saturday off.
Bro, I remember I got mad. They traveled me to the big house. I got mad.
They traveled you.
They traveled me. I'm like, I don't want to go. I'm like, I'm not going to play. I don't want to be here. Like, I want us to win. But it's just like, bro, like, come on, let me focus. I got a party this weekend.
Right.
Yeah, mindset was all messed up, man.
Right. I can attest to the red shirt, man. For me, it was just a weight thing. I came in there like 217. I mean, I was super, super fast, but I at 217 and Iowa, I was supposed to be a rush linebacker, but they felt like I could not be 217 and play defensive end or rush linebacker in the Big Ten. So I knew I had the red shirt. I was faster than everybody, but I was only 217. So I knew I had the red shirt, man. So talk about after.
I want to stop you there real quick though, because that's something that was always crazy to me. Like you said, being in the Big Ten, obviously they thinking about we got to go up against Wisconsin, we got to go up against Penn State, we got to go against O State, and them lines can look like some NFL lines.
Oh yeah,
and it's like you got that pressure because I had pressure the whole time when I was at Illinois. Put on weight. I came into Illinois about the same 215 somewhere around there too.
Okay.
So it was the same thing: pack on weight. It's like you did that and you focused on that all throughout college. But then when I got with the Browns, my first position coach, Brian Baker, I'm asking him really coming into the room. I'm like, you know, what weight you want me to play at and things of that nature. We drafted a guy, Barkevius Mingo, that year.
Yeah, that's true.
I came into OTAs. I'm like, I'm going to do my damnedest. I was 255, the heaviest I ever been in my life, bro.
Yeah.
This man.
He was 228, 232, right? He was slim.
Dog, like 222 the first time. I'm scared. I'm nervous. I'm like, they gonna cut me if I'm less than like 260. I'm like, I'm out of here, bro. Yeah. This man step up here, no worries, 227. I'm like,
That's wild.
No, that's crazy. But the
See,
thing
he
is,
was rangy though, because he was like
he was
6'5",
rangy.
right?
He had about an inch on me because I'm about 6'3". I'll give him about 6'4",
Okay.
borderline at 6'5". But
Okay. Okay.
his first step, man, was something I ain't just whoo. It was
Yeah.
just something like, and I figured like I had a good first step, and it was just like, damn,
Yeah.
when you see him, it's
Yeah.
like, damn. And the
Yeah.
thing is to Coach Baker's point, because me and him both kind of had those concerns. We like, is it just gonna be an issue? And
Yeah.
he like, man, whatever weight that you feel comfortable at, I'm
That's
good with. You know
that's
what I'm saying?
dope.
You ain't got to worry about putting on weight. Whatever you can play at is good enough.
Right. Right.
I'm like, I wish
See,
I would have had you at Illinois, man, when I was
right.
stressing over that crap.
Right, and that's the thing. The NFL don't care about that. They care about that first set.
Can
They
you
care about
play?
that skill set, the motor
Can you
skills.
play?
What
Can
can
you
you
get
get
the
to the
job done?
quarterback? Right,
Period.
right.
I
Exactly.
don't care what you look like. I don't care if you 5'7"
Mm-hmm.
and 185, bro. Can you get to the quarterback and can you bring him
Exactly.
down? Period.
Exactly. And I always felt like Iowa put way too much of emphasis on weight gain when you can't gain weight too fast if you're trying to keep your speed and your explosion and staying just that athleticism, that explosive athleticism, you're trying to keep that. You gotta. It's going to take some time. So I always felt like they put way too much of an emphasis on that.
Which,
Yeah, for
which,
sure. So man, after your red shirt year, was it after 2008? Was it tough for you to get on the field? Was it any politics that played their hand with you trying to get on the field, or was your transition from after your red shirt year to becoming a starter, was that fairly easy?
So it's actually funny. I kind of had a similar. I got on the field right away as a sophomore at Eds, but besides that, it was the same thing. To where when we went to the transition, because when I got to Eds, we was running a 4-4. When I got to Illinois, we was running a 4-3.
Okay.
Both schools, while I was there, changed to 3-4s while I
Okay.
was there.
Okay.
So when we had that same transition at Illinois, now I'm getting back to familiarity. Now I'm getting back to
Mm-hmm.
comfort and things of that nature. And that's
Mm-hmm.
really when
Mm-hmm.
things were able to kind of take off on me on that side. I'm able to, now I'm starting, I'm doing things like that.
Yeah.
I'm kind of playing a little bit better, playing a little quicker.
Mm-hmm.
But really after that red shirt year, we were still, I think we had 2 years where we were still in the 4-3 system. I was playing, I was bouncing around. I think they had me a weak side first. Then I moved down to the sound. And it was just really, special teams that red shirt freshman year. Really, it's just
Mm-hmm.
I'm really just trying to get my feet wet for real. So I wasn't really cracking the rotation in the defense, but
Mm-hmm.
just kind of still learning and learning and learning. But then when we brought in Coach Vic Cronin he came from Kansas State when he came to us. We brought that 3-4 out. Then next thing you know, it was me and another cat, Michael Buchanan, and another guy, my boy who ended up transferring, Nate Palmer, but he ended up going to the Packers. But we were all in the same room. We playing that bandit position now, and it's like, okay, cool. Now we got some rotation. It's a rush edge essentially again.
Yeah.
More so than having me stack. I'm reading bubble and all this other stuff that I'd had no familiarity with. So when I had that transition again, man, things started to take off.
Yeah, definitely, man. I remember seeing you making plays out there too. So what moment stood out to you during your career from 2008 to 2012, or the years that you played, 2009 to 2012? Any moments stand out to you?
I think my favorite game, man, I got 2 of them. We had that would have been my sophomore year. We got to play at Wrigley Field. We played Northwestern, going all in one direction. That game, just being able to be a part of that. I ain't even have a crazy stat line. I think I was still playing spot reps on the defense, and I was really mainly still a teamer back then. But the game itself, the atmosphere, was just something that, it was crazy. We had an up and down season that year. Man,
you probably had a bunch of family members there too, because you're in Chicago.
Exactly, man. Even though it was in a smaller stadium than, most of the college stadiums are with Wrigley Field, and I think it only hold like 30,000 or something like that. So, but yeah, man, like that game, just the way we came together. And then the Texas Bowl, we played RG3 and them.
Baylor,
Bill Taylor, all of them. Josh Gordon was there still. They had
they had a squad.
They had Kendall Wright. They had a squad, bro.
I remember that squad.
Man, and we dogged them 38-14 in Texas. I remember it was the whole time. It was just like a party, bro. It was just like I was one of those camaraderie guys, man. Like going back to Eds and just really the brotherhood we was able to build there, man. I was kind of looking for that. It's the same thing when I got to college. And I think that the nature of the games is kind of different once you introduce that business element. You know what I'm saying? You're also approaching it as a job, and then it really get exponentially different once you get to the NFL. So those games kind of gave me the old school, high school feel, the camaraderie, like, it's either his cats that I ain't even really like on the team, but you know what I'm saying? We all good, we all together, we all
Right.
in on this moment, and it
Right.
actually paid off. So to see those things,
Right.
like, I'll never forget those games, man.
Yeah, definitely, man. Yeah, I can attest to all those memories. Just the bowl games, the big bowl games, the traveling. Like like you said, college is nothing like high school.
At all. At
Illinois
all.
was nothing like St. Ed's. And Iowa was definitely nothing like Glenville.
Nothing like the Ville, I'm sure.
Nothing like it. So yeah, but yeah, just the big bowl games, BCS bowl games, all the memories and stuff like that. It's really just stuff that you can't get back. It's very invaluable. So yeah, man, talk about the 2013 NFL draft. Talk about just your process. Did you train in Champaign? Did you go anywhere specific to train? What were you hearing from your agents, from different scouts? And then kind of just expound on your draft day experience. Was it a good day? Was it a bad day? Did you expect to get drafted? I know for me, I mean that was probably the worst day of my life, probably. Just not getting picked up, and then I know you signed a UFA deal with the Browns right after the draft. So yeah, just expound on that a little bit for me.
Yeah, man. So like I mentioned a little bit before, my time even at Illinois was kind of spotty. You know, I was going back and forth. And my 5th year kind of got into a little bit of trouble heading into the year. So I ended up splitting time. I didn't even get to start my whole senior year. So, I mean, but it was a little bit of arrogance and a little bit of stubbornness in my head that made me want to stay with Illinois because I knew I was about to start coming into some crap dealing with our new head coach at that time. And if you're familiar with how his tenure played out at Illinois, y'all don't know half the stories.
And that's Tim Beckman, right?
Yeah, man.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
man. He was a different kind of cat. You know, things
that's
water under the bridge and all, but
yeah, and that's surprising because y'all went back. Like, you know what I'm saying? He used to
that's what you would think. You would think, right?
He recruited the Cleveland area. Yeah.
He recruited me to O State, but you would have thought when he met me the first time in Illinois, and out here I'm coming in, you know, incumbent starter, you know, even split time starter, but you know, one of the big name dudes, like one of the elite guys that you don't have to lean on as you go through this transition.
Exactly.
He's just looking at me like, you know, oh, hey, how you doing? Who are you? Like,
just a total different energy. Total different
energy, man. But really, you know, going throughout all that, I knew my talent and I was gonna bet on myself. So regardless of what my film had came out with, like I was all in. I'm like, man, regardless of even if it is gonna be a long shot, like, you know, I'm training, I'm putting my head down, and I'm gonna give this NFL thing a shot because, you know, I don't want to look back 20 years from now and be like, damn, what if I did?
Right,
you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So went through all that. We had a terrible season. I think we went 2-10 my 5th year, my last year or whatever down there. I had subpar stats, and you know, they could have been better or whatever case may be, but I still ended up going down to train at CES, which is in Duluth, Georgia.
Okay.
With a guy named Chip Smith. So he had, you know, a track record of getting guys combine, pro day ready, and things of that nature. So I'm like, you know, I hadn't heard of him at the time. One of my boys who was my essential pseudo manager before they got certified to do the actual thing that they're doing, kind of led me in that direction and was like, you know, check them out or whatever. So went down there, ended up able to, I actually put on a little bit of weight, was able to bulk up a little bit, had a decent enough pro day. Really what actually ended up getting me a call back to the Browns was a funny story because I didn't think it was going to happen. So you do the locals workout, you know, being from one of the local schools.
I did that.
Exactly. So I'm at my locals workout, bro. It was me and a cat. Who's the D lineman y'all had from Iowa, from Ignatius? I mean, from Iggy. Spigak, yeah, for my class, right? Yeah,
2008.
Yep. Man, so me and him doing the position drills with Coach Baker, and we going through it. You know, everything going smooth, but Baker hit me with this 1 figure 8 drill. And I don't know what it was that day. I think it was my nerves. It's the hometown team. It's all that. Bro, but every time I try to do the figure 8 going to my left, I'm messing the drill up. I couldn't get through the hoop. I don't know what it was. I was slipping. I was tripping, bro. I'm like, well, Cleveland ain't calling me back. Like, well, if anybody calling me back, Cleveland ain't calling me back. Right. So, man, I ended up having good enough film to where on actual draft day, I remember the Texans hit me up and the Seahawks hit me up towards the later rounds or whatever. And I remember it being the only draft where I watched every single pick from 1 to 245 or whatever the case maybe it was that year.
Right.
Man, and you just watching names, you watching names, you seeing opponents going, you seeing people who've been played either against or Winton High School and things like that. You've seen the stuff just kind of take off, and it's just like, you know, even though I kind of had, I think, a realistic expectation going in, it's like it still was kind of hitting you like, damn, like, okay, like, you know, especially once it started getting to the later rounds, you know what I'm saying? Like I said, a couple teams started calling me, started saying like, hey, pay attention late, you know, 7th round, you know, later rounds, you might do something. And I'm like, okay, nothing kind of comes to fruition. So last pick is taken that year. Mr. Irrelevant gets drafted, and phone not ringing, you know, agent ain't saying nothing, ain't nobody saying nothing. So I'm like, I'm hot at that moment, you know. I'm upset, I'm confused, I don't know what's going on. Always liking it to, man. I felt like Trey from Boys in the Hood, bro. I just felt like swinging at everything for no reason, bro. I didn't know where my mind was at. And then I think it was about 15 minutes after the draft had ended. I was in the frat house at the time. One of my line brothers. We was like, all right, cool. We about to just go grab something to eat. I think we was going to like TGI Fridays or something at the time, or whatever. We leaving out the crib, and like I said, it's about 15 minutes after the draft ended. I got a Minnesota actual area code calling me, and I'm like, I ain't talked to the Vikings. I don't know like who this is or whatever. But then, yeah, man, it turned out to be Brian Baker. He let me know. He was like, well, we ain't got no signing bonus for you, but we got a spot for you. So what's up, man? So it went from being the worst day that day to one of the best when I actually got that conversation, when I actually got that phone call. And it's like a weight was lifted off my shoulders, man. It was just like, all right, cool. This is the opportunity I need. Say less. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna get there, and ain't no turning back once I get there.
Exactly. And you said that was Brian Baker from the Vikings or the Browns?
He had a Minnesota area code. I forget. I don't remember if he had came from the Vikings. I don't know if he ever played coach in that system.
But he was for the Browns.
He was the Browns position coach. But the point that I'm making is he had a different area code. I didn't recognize, and I was just like, and I think it popped up as Minnesota. I might be actually misquoting it for what it was at the time. But it was a different area code that I wasn't used to seeing, and then he tells me, "Hey, it's Brian Baker with the Browns." I'm like, "Oh, damn, all right."
Right. So I'm sure that caught you off guard. So, man, what was it like going through that whole preseason, all those preseason games? Is this really, in your second hometown? But I'm sure being able to put on, what you had. I'm sure you had family in Cleveland, friends there as well. What was that preseason like? I'm sure it was a lot of pressure that came with it too.
Man, it was crazy. And to even add to the pressure, bro. So I came in with the Browns. They had me playing outside backer at first. Literally, Coach Ray Horton, our defensive coordinator, he came up to me. I think it was 4 days before we played the Rams. The Rams was our first opponent that preseason. So we already went through OTAs. I done played outside backer. We went through 2 weeks of camp before you get to the first game. This whole time I'm playing outside. He literally come up to me 4 days before the game. He go, hey, if we get into a pinch, can you play inside? I'm like, yes, coach.
Yeah, of course.
I ain't gonna say no.
Hey, you in the league. Yeah.
No.
Right.
So, but I stopped and I'm thinking, I'm like, at that point, bro, I hadn't played inside since 2009, since before we moved to the 3-4 then. So that last year in the 4-3 was my last year playing inside. And I'm like, I guess I'm going to go out here and play inside. You feel me?
Yeah.
So, man, but it was crazy, though, because I'm thinking, like, all right, I'm going to go into the game starting playing outside, but then he going to give me inside reps later. Nah, coming into the game, they asking me, they're like, all right, draw up on the call sheets which plays you comfortable with. On top of playing inside, they made me play the buck. So now I got to call the defense on top of being in a new position. Right. I got to line the damn defense up on top of being in a new position. I'm like, man, look, give me about these 15, 20 plays. I'm cool here. And the craziest thing ended up happening, I ended up catching a pick in the game. Playing inside, man. So I think they ended up helping me stick on with them that year, bro. But it was nuts, man. It was a whole whirlwind that within a week, it got even crazier.
And that's what's up, man. That sounds like a great memory. And like you say, man, you can hold on to those kind of memories. So talk about, like, after you make it to the last cuts, obviously you don't make the 53-man roster, but then I think maybe a couple of weeks later, or literally like a week later, you sign with Tennessee and you end up sticking there for 4 years from practice squad to the active roster. So talk about that transition from the Browns to the Titans, but also, man, just talk about that kind of fortitude. Like, was there anything that you were able to pull from to stick with the same organization for 4 years. And even though you may have got cut and go to the practice squad, you kept working, kept fighting, and then you get on the active and stay on the active year after year after year. You usually don't see that often. Most guys, it may happen for 1 season or 2 seasons, but it never happens for 4 seasons. So just talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, man. So actually, it's interesting enough. When I got with Cleveland, it was like you said, went through the whole 53-man process, got let go when they're making the 53-man cuts. I think they brought me back that week. After 2 weeks, I was on P squad, but the way that Cleveland approached their P squad, at least under that administration, under Lombardi and all those guys, that they saw the practice squad essentially as an interchangeable piece in order to get a look at multiple people throughout the course of the season, either if the opponent dictates it or if injury to our team dictates it. Okay. So in other words, they didn't view it as an extension of the roster in terms of, all right, well, we got these 53 guys, and then here's the next 10 that we're going to rock with these 10, or at the time it was actually 8. We're going to rock with these next 8 for the duration of the season as people go down to their position or whatever the case may be, elevate from this base. So dealing with Cleveland, man, really it was, you have that big wide eye open moment where it's like, damn, man, not only am I in the league, man, I'm playing for the hometown. Right. You know what I'm saying? Like, and we had an up and down season. It was a losing season that year, but still enough. I mean, to be a part of one Browns win, it was like, felt like winning the Super Bowl. You know what I'm saying? So you have that feeling, but you learn very quick that it was a business. And that big eye thing that, after I caught the interception in the preseason, I remember in the Plain Dealer, I had a whole page spread, man. They St. Ed's local star tries to stick on with his team and all that. So it's all love, you know what I'm saying? But then now you realize that that's just a narrative for fans. That has nothing to do with how the organization views things, and they couldn't give a damn less that I want to say that. So, it was actually extremely tumultuous. I ended up being on the P squad, I think, like 9 weeks that season. Okay, but literally every Tuesday, I'm getting a call like, all right, we got to let you go because we got X, Y, and Z. And then next week would come up, then, wouldn't hear nothing. But then the following week would come up. All right, we bringing you back. All right, we letting you go. All right, we bringing you back. So that whole season was like that. 2014, Mike Pettin, that staff comes in, and it was kind of about to start being the same thing. They cut me with 53 again, and then brought me back immediately. But then week 3 of that season, they let me go. They had a guy, another one of my actual frat brothers, Keith Pugh, that they was rocking out with him for that linebacker P squad spot or whatever. So they ended up throwing him into the role. That was kind of, it. For me, I'm figuring in Cleveland, luckily enough, Ray Horton had went from the DC and Cleveland down to the DC and Tennessee. I kind of got on the horn. They kind of had that familiarity. Was bringing my name up and things of that nature as it came across the waiver wire. And I got down to Tennessee, man. And although I had periods of time where I was on practice squad, it was a lot different. Again, like it wasn't more so as the organization was using it as, all right, cool, well, we got to play Colin Kaepernick at the time. That would have been the most mobile quarterback. We got to play him this week, so we're going to bring in some mobile quarterbacks and stuff like that, like how Cleveland was doing. It was more so, all right, cool, well, these are the cats that, was right there on the fringe, so we're going to rock with them for the course of the season. And really, like, that kind of they kind of paid that what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of that respect to you, kind of just be able to keep you around. You know what I'm saying? It was like cool, So it was a lot. It was a lot different. It was stressful, nonetheless, because you don't have that. You don't have that security. Versus when you were a 8-figure, you know what I'm saying, type contract or whatever the case may be. So it's like, when you are expendable in a certain sense, you kind of do have that always in the back of your mind. And Cleveland really taught me exactly in the NFL how it can be not for long, as the saying goes. You know what I'm saying? So being able to go through that experience in Cleveland kind of molded me to be able to always stay ready, always stay motivated throughout. Even times when I was sitting down on P Squad for a couple of weeks, it's like I always had a feeling like, all right, cool, my number gonna get called eventually, and it always did. And it's like, just be ready when it do.
Yeah, man. One question I got is, like you said, man, being expendable when it's not in your control. Right, you can go as hard as you want and be consistent and do all those things, but like you said, being expendable when it's not under your control. All the slew of transactions, right? Like, did that cause any type of anxiety for you, or you just, like you say, you just like you got used to it and then you just kind of roll with it, like week to week, month to month, year to year, like?
Man, actually, it got to a point, I say rookie year, I'm on every waiver wire, I'm finding things on Twitter, I'm finding every reporter, I'm seeing who got released where, I'm trying to see, all right, well, they down a linebacker, so if something here, then I can tell my agent to go there. And I was doing all that stuff, and it just became too much, man. It's like you said, beyond anxiety, man, it felt like it was driving me crazy, bro.
Yeah,
I can tell you more about other people's transactions and what's going on in our room. And I'm like, man,
I can only imagine.
forget all this. So really by the time I made that transition to Tennessee, I kind of started letting some of that stuff go, man. I started kind of just being like, I'm going to focus on me and what I got to do. I'm going to control what I can control because the rest is going to happen. They're going to fire coaches. They're going to fire GMs. They're going to bring in new people, you know what I'm saying? They're going to bring in new staffs. I experienced all of it on every level down there. You know what I'm saying? So it's like just control what you can control. Let the rest take care of itself. Really was just my mindset, and that's really was just able to kind of get me through things, man. It got to the point for real, the people around me more so were focusing on those things than I was. Like I got my moms looking at things like, oh, well, this linebacker got released here. Maybe they'll call you and things like that. I'm like, man, you don't know nothing about how these transactions go. Please stay off the computer, man. Please.
Right. I already know, man. So like you said, man, you stick in Tennessee for 4 years, man. What moments stand out to you, Tennessee? I mean, like we've been talking about, I started playing football at 8, you started at 12, 13. I mean, less than 1% of guys, whether you a big recruit, this and that, all these accomplishments, all these accolades, less than 1% actually physically making it in the NFL, wear those shoulder pads, wear those helmets, and let alone for more than the average career, which is I think 3.2 years or maybe less than 3 years. So what moments stand out to you, during your time in Tennessee? I mean, I know you played a bunch of special teams, but you also got defensive snaps as well. I mean, who was the best professional athlete that you ever went against, like just on the field, just any of those kind of moments?
Man, I say I got too many moments that kind of stand out for different reasons in Tennessee, but something on the field that I remember first and foremost, my first time going to Gillette, going up to go pay the Patriots. I had never really been to East Coast for real. And I've been to different parts, but not really that, kind of Massachusetts, New England area for real.
Yeah.
I ain't really know what to expect, but just seeing the land and the layout and just you drive up on it, and here's Gillette, and it's like, damn, this is what you always seeing on TV. So it's kind of a little one of those wide eye experiences or whatever, man. But then getting into the game, I forgot what the situation was. Another one of my frat brothers, Wesley Woodyard, was playing the wheel in front of me that game, and he had to be out for a snap. I forgot what the reason was, shoestring, whatever the case may be. But the next thing I know, without no warning, I just get thrown in on defense.
Yeah.
We in 55, I'm playing Will, so that means I got the tight end. I got Gronk out of nowhere, bro. I'm like, oh, they just set me up. Y'all knew we was about to play this defense. Y'all trying to cut me. Y'all want the ammo. Y'all want me to get embarrassed on national TV. This is what y'all want.
You got Gronk, you got TB12 chopping at the bit.
I'm like, this about to be straight 7 cut. This nigga about to moss me, man. I'm like, this about to be crazy, bro. Man, luckily it ended up being run away from us though, and then Wood came back the next play. I was like, oh, then we gonna worry about this punt we about to go have to do, bro.
Right.
That's more in my wheelhouse right now.
Right, man. I can only imagine stepping foot in Gillette, man. Then, like, I mean, obviously TB12 will be one of the best, like the GOAT, the best quarterback to ever do it, man. He already got 6 rings. He mess around to get 7 if they let him, man. So yeah, man, those kind of moments, man. I can only imagine, man.
Nuts, bro.
So, man, talk about like after your 4th year, they let you go. Talk about just kind of your transition. I'm sure it was a period. It was more of a transitional period because I'm sure you probably still wanted to play. You were looking at all your options, but just talk about that your transitional period going from being an active NFL player, the top level, the best level of football, to potentially saying, okay, I'm done with it. Let me figure out what the next phase of my life is.
Yeah, man. So all that kind of happened abruptly on my end, for real.
Okay.
For real. Things with the Titans kind of ran their course, and it was going to be another transition, kind of just another waiting game, throw your name in the hat, kind of see if you're going to get pulled when, guys go down during camp, one of those things, or whatever the case may be. And I really just kind of over that, because it was over the first couple months of the 2017 season, because I got let go going into that season. And I was just really just sitting there looking, man, and I had other options that were kind of starting to come to fruition, CFL and stuff like that. And I was just like, do I really want to continue on and go through the ringer, go through trying to make it through that way, essentially remake it again with fewer options? Because playing linebacker, if you're trying to go to the CFL, like unless you're trying to rush the passer, like you're not really gonna get quality film for real. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
I had one of my homeboys go up there, and he was only running at about like I think 230 at the time, and they told him he was too big. You need to be like 205, 210. And it's just like, man, like, do I really feel like going through all that stuff again, man? And I just looked at it and just kind of looked at where I was at, had a conversation with my wife, and just started being like, I've been able to play and say that I played the game at the highest level every step of the way, from going from edge, going to the Big Ten, going to the league. So it's like, what, I wanted that to be my legacy. And it was
big blessing.
When I kind of, what I'm saying, once I kind of had that epiphany a little bit, like, that's going to be my legacy, that's a cool place to leave it at. Then the transition kind of started to make itself a little bit easier, because it is that culture shock, man. When you had something that you didn't have for so long, like even beyond, me playing the game organized wise, like I said, growing up with the game, kind of just always having it as a part of your life. It was, it still is, sometimes something that you kind of think about, give pause to, don't know if you're really sure to do it, but it was just one of those things where it's like, hey man, I gave that full trust. So now it's just time to give full trust into something else, man.
Right. That's powerful, because it's like you said, you were able to play football at its highest level from high school to the Big Ten to NFL. So it's like it made that transition that much easier. So once you made the conscious decision that you were done playing, did you dibble and dabble in different industries, or did you kind of already know what industry you wanted to kind of lock in on?
Man, I had no clue, bro. Like no clue whatsoever. Like I said, man, even though I got my degree, and the path that I had set for myself going into Illinois, it still could have came to fruition if I wanted to follow that up. But I had changed. I wasn't the same person that I was when I made that decision at 18, 19 years old. Because at that time, I thought that, okay, if football don't work out, then I'm gonna find myself somewhere into law enforcement. U.S. Marshals, FBI. Like I was gonna start chasing that type of route. Okay. And I'm just like, I don't really think that's me no more. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. You just change. You change. You have different interests as you get older.
You just have different energies, just different things I wanted to apply my talents to. So I kind of started just thinking around, throwing around things, just even kind of still considering coaching and like avenues and options of that nature. But what I ended up settling on was I kind of started thinking about, I was fortunate. The only thing that I had injury-wise throughout the course of me playing the game for real was concussions. Like, playing linebacker, that crap is unavoidable. At some point,
you're going to be seeing stars multiple times.
Hey, either on a pulling guard or on teams, on something, at some point, you're going to get a high-impact collision. And like you said, you're going to be seeing stars for a second. So it's like I kind of thought on that and started really looking and seeing that there was emerging and developing information coming out about the effects of cannabinoids on CTE specifically in neurocognitive degeneration. So when I learned about that, I was like, dang, man, that's kind of interesting, because you kind of always hear the opposite. People that partake in cannabis and use it, they're dumb, or you know what I'm saying. You got the stoner mentality or whatever it may be. But then here was information coming out of Israel, coming out of other places that had more options to kind of research these things, that were saying that, hey, no, actually, when we're studying this development on traumatic brain injuries, it's actually kind of patching up some of those holes and stopping some of that neurocognitive degeneration. So I'm like, hey, man, say less. That sounds like something that's interesting. My wife and I, we actually made a transition when we first got out of Nashville. We were like, all right, cool. What's going on in the cannabis industry? Who kind of leading it? At that time, 2018, I think Nevada had just legalized. So I'm like, oh, okay, Las Vegas got legal industry and things of that nature. That'd be a good place to kind of go out there and learn about the industry, kind of go get my feet wet. But went out to Vegas, man, and found out that they call it Sin City for a reason, man. It's about nothing but money. You gotta have a dumb amount of capital.
A lot of capital. I was about to say that.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, hey, man, I need to kind of, I guess, look at something that is kind of budding, but still heading in the same directions. Ended up being able to kind of be lucky enough to network and find an opportunity that brought me back to Chicago. I was working in the industry here, and then now I'm trying to find my own position and to be able to get licensing and find area to be able to grow products for athletes specifically.
Absolutely, man. That's super dope, man. I had a teammate of mine at Iowa named Christian Ballard. He actually, man, he went in like the third round of the draft, I think, but back in like 2010, he was playing for the Vikings. He played with Jared Allen and all those guys. I mean, he started a couple games, played special teams, played a lot of snaps. And after his like third season, he just quit. He just up and walked away from the game. And he used to fail drug tests all the time at Iowa for marijuana, but he always looked at it as like from a lens like how you look at it. And now he's been working in the cannabis industry for I think like 7 or 8 years now. He started off in Denver, and now he's in Palm Springs at working at one of the biggest plants in the state of California, man. So I could definitely try to connect you all because
Please do,
he
man.
yeah, man, he's been tapped in for about 8 years, man. And it's crazy when you talk about like cannabis and the neurology of it, like those them coexisting in the same space. Because I mean, I don't talk about it a lot, but I mean, I wouldn't say that I'm an avid cannabis user, but like but I had pec surgery and labrum surgery in college, so it's literally a screw holding my chest together. And now I'm in my 30s, and even though I lost a bunch of the football weight, I'm about 225 right now. It's still the pain when I can't lay on this shoulder, or if I have my arm up too long, just the pain. So yeah, like I'll literally hit um a stick of cannabis, literally like 2 or 3 hits like before I go to sleep, just so it helps me sleep, and I get good rest, because I was suffering from like sleep deprivation. So like one of my eyes wasn't closing all the way, so I would wake up and the eye would be red like every day for like months. So I'm like, man, what can I do? I can't. I don't want to drink. I don't want to drink wine or liquor or nothing like that. What can I do just to help me sleep and help my eyes close all the way? Started smoking easy, bro. And I'm not like facing blunts after blunts after blunts or nothing like that. It's literally I'm hitting it a couple times just at night just to help me sleep. And it literally helps, bro. Like before that, when I used to yawn, like in the morning or at night, I would be seeing stars just from yawning. I mean, just all those little small things, like you say, it's a 20+ year relationship of banging, trying to take people's heads off, like absorbing all those big hits. It's basically car collisions, like to your brain.
Mm-hmm.
So like that stuff really helps, man. So I'm excited. I'm excited that you in that industry. I'm excited that I got another homie that's been doing this thing too, man. But I'm glad that that's coming to the forefront, because you don't have to be like a stoner, but a little bit of it literally helps if you've been playing sports for 15, 20, 25 years. It literally helps.
Exactly, man. And it helps for so many different things, man.
Yeah.
It's just crazy because in this nation, and like we touched on with things with the capital, man, we've been forced and we've been spoon-fed this thought path for so long, and that you know what I'm saying, that this thing is the demon drug, and this is it's a gateway drug, and you're gonna be on heroin by next week if you never smoke weed. And it's just like when you actually dive into it, man, and you start reading up on things like the 1937 Marijuana Tax Act. And things of that nature, man, you actually see where this legislation came from. It just came from people trying to vilify a substance in order to do the same things that we see, and that's have systemic injustice against Black and brown people within this nation. So it's like it hits on multiple levels, man, because there's the social justice piece of it that you have from kind of stepping into this industry, being able to provide opportunity and try to undo some of the things that were done throughout the war on drugs and kind of unteach some of the stigmas that we've been taught, man. I come from a family, if I would have went into law enforcement, I'd have been 5th generation. So I got cops all throughout my family. And when I was talking to some of them, I got she essentially a great aunt, but she's a cousin, so whatever the case may be. But I'm talking to Doris about this when I'm first getting into this, and she's a CPD former cop. Whatever, and she hit me with all the stuff. Well, I don't want to get high off your contact, and I don't want this to happen. And what if you? And I'm just like, you say all these things, but people have had tobacco as a legalized product for how long? Now that has no health benefits. You know what I'm saying? Nothing for nobody. It
kills your lungs.
It kills you every time you intake it, and we know this. We have science to prove this, but you have no problem with that. So really ask yourself, what is it about weed specifically? And she, well, I just don't want to smell it and all this other stuff. I'm like, you can't give me nothing of substance.
It's a whole stigma.
You
Whole
can't,
stigma.
man. You can't, and it has no backing to get people to believe the things that they do about it. So, like I said, man, being able to have that piece to kind of do a little bit of that unlearning with people, as well as seeing, you know, the financial aspects of it and how it's growing so quickly, man, it's definitely fortunate. And I'm just glad that more people are being able to be open about it. I guess as legislation passes, you know, because there was so much of a portion of the nation that was kind of like, you know, well, it's not that I have anything against it, it's just the fact that it's illegal. So now that some of that legality is kind of getting more widespread, man, it's definitely a thing to pay attention to.
Let me ask you this: did you feel at all like an outcast in the Staples family tree? Like you said, you would have been fifth generation.
Man,
did you feel like an outcast at all?
Well, like all of us, man, we got cops and robbers in the family, so you know we was kind of on the borderline.
Okay.
And I also got the kind of the aspect. I guess I kind of get away with a little bit more because I have achieved so much else. Where it's like, okay, we know he ain't gonna do nothing too crazy. Like, we know he got it going on. So
okay. That's
too much. But like I said, you got them older family members that still.
Just old school, and those old school family members, they're not going to change. They're not going to ever change their ways, man.
You might as well stop trying.
right. I couldn't agree more, man. So yeah, man. Last question. What would you say is Justin Staples' after effect through the wins, through the losses, through the injuries, the politics, all your experiences at St. Ed, all your experiences from Illinois to Cleveland, all your experiences with the Browns, with the Titans, and then you know, life after football? What were some lessons, some valuable lessons that you carry with you today, that you carry with you every day? What were some lessons that you learned that you will eventually just continue to press forward as we try to push this culture forward?
Man, I say the after effect of Justin Staples got definitely be perseverance. I think that throughout everything that I was thrown, man, I always found some type of way to keep it going. I didn't really have a traditional route throughout football, throughout really any means of the way that I made it. Even though I did go to some bigger institutions, I came in different ways. Like I ain't mentioned it earlier when we was talking about it, but I transferred during 2 days from Berea into St. Ed's. You know what I'm saying? Those type of things and stuff like that. Same thing at Illinois, having, you know, different and multiple coaching staffs. That's almost like transferring. You know what I'm saying? If you go
definitely
and stick with the new staff, and we touched on, you know, how my relationship was personally with that coach. So, man, throughout all that, man, I think I always kept things in mind, always had a vision, always had, you know, an end game kind of in mind. And even though throughout the course and throughout the journey, you know, that end game, as the image may change a little bit, it's like still keeping that focus on it is what allows me to continue to persevere. And that's what I want people to kind of just always just fix it. You know what I'm saying? Just there's not much that can be said. There's not much that can't be said about a work ethic of just putting your head down, you know, and nose to the grindstone, and just being like, you know what, I'm gonna control what I can control. And I'm gonna work on my processes. I'm gonna get my steps in order to make sure that the things that I do want to come to fruition do. And just by ordering them step by step, you'll get there.
Man, absolutely, man. And like you said, man, through the roadblocks, through the turmoil, through the trials and tribulations, that's always going to be a part of the journey. But perseverance, that's a very powerful after effect, because if you can somehow touch perseverance, I mean, you will continue to, you know, succeed and just press forward. So that's powerful, brother.
Stuff, bro.
Yeah, man. Well, that's actually all I had, man. I appreciate you carving out the time. Something that I've been trying to pride myself on. Whether I know you, whether we just met. Obviously, we just met a couple of days ago. You know, via text and things like that. But I mean, I've been knowing you since I think I got hit to you maybe like 2006, something like that. Always followed your career because we played the same position. And you played basketball too. We was basically the same person. Played basketball. We both was an edge player. So I just want to tell you, face up as a man. You know, I salute all your accomplishments, all the accolades, man. Keep putting on for Illinois, keep putting on for Cleveland, man. And I just want to tell you, face up, that I'm super proud of everything you've done. I've been following you since we was young. It's probably 15, 16, man. So it's a blessing that now, you know, 15, 20 years now, we can be in our 30s and we can just chop it up like this and really just give some authentic game, you know, man. So I just want to tell you that, face up, man.
Yeah, man, all love. Definitely appreciate that, brother. And like you said, man, the love and the mutual respect, even though it ain't love when we on the field playing Glenville is, and Illinois, Iowa, always, you know what I'm saying? It's always good to be able to see a brother make it through these circumstances, man.
Hey, so, you know it.
Yes, sir. Appreciation to you, brother.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you, man. And we'll be in touch, bro.
What's up, man?
All right, man. Have a good night. Yeah, guys. So that was a pretty powerful episode 42. Man, Justin has a hell of a story. Born in Illinois and then matriculating to Cleveland and just really excelling in football and basketball, and then was a football athlete at the University of Illinois and 5-year NFL veteran, and now is doing his thing in the cannabis industry and as an entrepreneur as well in the Chi-Town area. So again, I appreciate everyone who tuned in and listened or watched this entire episode 42. Again, like I said in episode 41, the merch is in production. We're almost done with that. The Patreon account is being made. Not gonna lie, I am a bit nervous just to kind of get those things off the ground because this is my first time doing it, but I'm just trying to continue to grow as a serial entrepreneur, trying to learn all the business aspects of everything as we continue to just press forward and believe in our business and believe in our dreams, right? So until the next episode, peace. Subscribe to LSD TV to become an official member, but you already knew that, where we dig deep and find our hustle, and every single day, we are better than yesterday. Subscribe.